Muses of Mythology is a spoiler-heavy podcast.
That's an understatement.
We're going to discuss not just the events of this book, but the Ridenverse as a whole, and really anything that we feel is relevant. You can find full spoiler warnings in the show notes.
I gotta say, Percy's fatal flaw is stupid.
We'll get to that.
Stupid.
So,
It's something that, like, I personally agree with, so it's stupid.
oh, it's your fatal flaw.
Possibly. Who's to say?
So that's the truth comes out. Welcome to Muses of Mythology, a podcast where we explore how ancient myths become modern pop culture. This week, we continue our journey through Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson and the Olympians with Story 53, The Sphinx. I'm your co-host and podcasting muse, Darien Smart. Joining me is my co-host and brother, DJ.
How's everybody doing today? I am the muse of Riddles. And let me tell you, I was not invoked all too much with the what's in my pocket riddle. Do not blame that one on me.
All right, well, let's muse around in the garden for a moment, and we'll get back to you on that. All right, DJ, as we already discussed, it's the Sphinx.
It's the Sphinx.
Mm-hmm. I gesture at you.
Yeah, this is not a visual medium, Darren. You can't just gesture at me.
I don't know where that
And I know what you mean, but if I just start talking after a long pause, the viewers don't know.
And that's why I describe myself as gesturing at you.
Well, you gotta say, okay,
All right,
you're the one that's picky about keeping the same beats every time. You need to ask me what I remember about it from Percy. Darren, what do you remember about the Sphinx from Percy Jackson?
Oh no, okay. All right, so in Percy Jackson, specifically the Battle of the Labyrinth, Percy and Annabeth encounter the Sphinx in the labyrinth, the titular labyrinth, in which Annabeth is totally ready to handle the Sphinx because she knows the riddle. She's a daughter of Athena. She wants to show off how clever she is. Most importantly, she already knows the answer to the...
But that's kind of something I always kind of have a problem with. It's like, why wouldn't you just change the riddle every time? Why is it the same riddle? Because then it's like, that's no longer a riddle. Everybody knows the answer to your stupid fucking riddle.
The riddle. Yep. Yeah, so basically when they show up and this is like, all right, I'm ready to do this, and it's full game show aesthetic, and then all of a sudden she's just like answering like
trivia
questions on
which
like
also is not a riddle.
Which is also, it's just what she says, this isn't a riddle, this is just memorizing stuff. It's an insult to my intelligence as a daughter of Athena. And the Sphinx is like, bet, okay, and then attacks, because that's what the Sphinx does if you can't answer the riddle.
If you don't want to or can't answer the riddle, you die.
If you won't play the game, she attacks. And I love this. Hold on, let me find. I love Percy's when Annabeth is like, I won't answer these questions because it's an insult to my intelligence. Part of me was impressed for her for standing up like that. But part of me thought her pride was going to get us all killed. Yeah, her fatal flaw is hubris.
Yep.
Is pride. And I kind of love that Percy's like, I'm so proud of her. For saying, I love her so much. Also, please stop. We're going to die. And then the Sphinx attacks. And, oh yeah, I forgot. Tyson and Grover are still there. And the Sphinx is after Annabeth specifically. Not like the rest of them. It's because she was the one that was answering the questions because she won't anymore. Now the Sphinx wants her, which I do think is an interesting trait of the monster.
Yes.
So they actually don't slay the Sphinx. They just destroy her grading machine and then run away. And then Grover does some plant magic to block the tunnel behind them. We ran through the dark tunnels, listening to the roar of the Sphinx behind us as she complained about all the tests she would have to grade by hand.
Nice.
Yep. And that's the Sphinx in the Percy Jackson series.
I think the game show thing is fun. Mm-hmm. Have it be just like other riddles. Like, I'm sure the Sphinx knows better. Like, actually, I'm sure the Sphinx knows, these aren't riddles, these are questions.
Yeah. Her argument is that, well, everybody knows the answer to the riddle, so
that's fair. Just use another riddle.
I think the actual thing is that it's really hard to come up with riddles.
I get that, but then, like, there's so many riddles. You can buy a book of 101 riddles. You think that the Sphinx can be like, send out one of her henchmen to go, hey, go fetch me one of those riddle books.
Through the labyrinth. I don't.
She has trivia about the geography of the US of A. Like,
She does. I actually think this is not an issue with the Sphinx, but of the fact that Rick Riordan is but a mere mortal author. And I don't know if you've ever tried to come up with a riddle for a story. It's like trying to come up with a D&D puzzle.
Again, I get that.
Yikes.
But this was also, again, there's books of just 101 riddles.
Well,
like, you straight up can just go, like, I get, like, oh, but I won't be able to answer you every riddle inside a book of 101 riddles off the top of my dome because I won't remember them.
Well, no, I think it's more of like, I don't even know if you would be allowed to do that as a writer. Copyright lie, like plagiarism wise. Like, if
okay,
you were
then go find a book of riddles from the 1800s. Like, those are in the public domain now.
So the trick is public domain riddles,
which you can find. Like, all those Tolkien riddles are not. When did the Lord of the Rings book come out?
I don't know.
Yeah, I was about to say they are, but no. I'm sure Charles Dickens had a riddle in one of his fucking book. Like, come on.
Yeah, okay, so that is a fair. I do think it might be twofold. I think it's like, hey, coming up with riddles are hard. The game show thing is funnier, and also just memorizing facts isn't necessarily a sign of intelligence.
No, it's not.
And Rick Riordan was a teacher who will not hesitate to dunk on the American education system in his books for that reason, because the system is largely flawed. So I do think that's also an indicator of like, hey, just because even Annabeth, who knows the answers and is super smart, is like, this is not a sign that I'm smart. Like, this is not a good measure of cleverness.
You're smart, because it's not even critical thinking, which is what riddles typically are.
Yeah,
right? You got to think like what, and you got to think out of the box, right? Like the initial Sphinx riddle: I walk on 4 a.m, 2 during the day, and 3 p.m. Yeah, like that's a interesting thing. If you've never heard it and don't know the answer, then you're not going to really get it. To those of you who don't know, the answer is man. A baby in the morning, adult in the afternoon, and an old man with a cane. Adults during the day and an old man in the afternoon with the evening. Whatever.
So that's why the Sphinx argues that she doesn't do it anymore, because
everybody knows
the
it.
answer.
And I get it. But you all also living in the labyrinth for thousands of years. The Sphinx can come up with another one. I can come up with a riddle, I don't know, within like a month. Like, if you give me time, if you give me enough time, I can definitely come up with a decent enough riddle. But like, what, you can't do it within years? You want to go off of modern geography? Like, what the fuck?
I do think it's interesting, mostly because it is.
He just wanted them to fight the Sphinx.
They don't even fight the Sphinx. They run away from the Sphinx.
He knew he had Annabeth, and like, he'd already built Annabeth up to be, very smart and clever. So she's going to just like, within general, she's going to be able to solve like any riddle. So he wants like, oh yeah, this just her hubris is going to make it to where they can't get past. And I get that for Greek heroes.
Good character stuff,
but it's
too.
like, come on.
It's also, I think, a fun because the book's about Greek mythology, and sometimes it's about teaching you about it, and sometimes it's about like just exploring it. So if you know anything about the Sphinx, you know the riddle, and that's such a staple in pop culture of Sphinx telling riddles. Okay, but mostly I think I do think you're right. If there was actually a Sphinx, I think she would have just come up with another riddle.
Yeah.
But I like
everybody's been answering mine, so it must be out there already. Let's come up with something new.
Maybe the Sphinx can't come up with a new one. Maybe she just had the one good one.
So then the Sphinx is an idiot. Why?
So, okay, let me finish my thought. I think... Sorry, my bangs are fucking in my face.
Yeah.
I actually think it's really funny from a writing perspective. You're expecting the riddle. I think it's a good subversion of the expectation. I think the scene is delightful. I can picture it so clearly of this like game show podium and Annabeth like trying to answer the questions but trying to argue. Like, I like this scene a lot.
No, it's a great scene. Again, I like it. I think it's dumb.
I don't think it would have been as impactful if she had just told a riddle.
Just tell like multiple riddles.
Just keep telling riddles.
Just keep telling riddles until, keep telling riddles, and then the Sphinx progressively gets more and more angry that she's answering them rapid fire very quick, right? She's not even getting stumped at all.
Yeah.
And then the Sphinx gets mad.
But then
Annabeth
cheating.
is still like very like, she could still be super prideful about like, I know all of your riddles and shit like that.
But that's not Annabeth's
That kind of is Annabeth. She's definitely been like that before.
But she doesn't usually like brag that she's better.
She absolutely bragged that she outsmarted Arachne into trapping herself.
She didn't brag about that.
She straight up did. She's like, I made you make your own trap. Get fucked.
I feel like that was more of a... That's different. That was the villain who was trying to kill her.
The Sphinx is a villain trying to kill her.
I don't know, but it's not like this personal... But we can't. We are all off topic. What the... Okay, so that's the Sphinx in Battle of the Labyrinth. Now, since you did the thing, I did the thing. Now you get to tell us, DJ, where does the Sphinx... Tell us about, about the... What's the mythology? Tell us more.
It's a Greek.
Is it Greek? Yeah. Are you sure?
It's got, I mean, I typically see it in Greek. I even saw it again in Assassin's Creed Odyssey a couple times.
All right. My notes
I know,
say DJ talks about Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Fun fact, it asks you a riddle, and it's not the man riddle, because the writers of Assassin's Creed Odyssey everybody knows the answer to that fucking riddle, so here's another one. You can either choose to fight the Sphinx or answer the riddle, and it'll give you it's a piece of a key in order to get the Staff of Caduceus. That's the key to Atlantis.
Okay.
Yeah. It's, I don't know. Like, that's, I mean, like, I don't know anything about the mythology.
Okay. So
I'm just saying you're the one who started it. So I'm like, all right, fine, let's do this.
Well, we're going to switch it back and forth. You got to be willing to volley back. All right. Yeah. So we are all familiar with, I think, the most famous, well-known iconography, at least like in the West, in modern day, is the Egyptian Sphinx,
100%.
which is just body of a lion, head of a man.
Yeah.
Like, that is the iconography of the Sphinx. And that's usually what comes up when you think about it. That's what they typically look like. But the Greek Sphinx is pretty different from this. So it is the body of a lion with the head and breasts of a woman, eagle wings, and sometimes a serpent's tail.
Yeah.
So we're getting very chimera-esque, which makes sense because a lot of myths will credit Chimera and Typhon as her parents. So parents of all monsters. She's a pretty prolific monster. Also, one-off monster. Now, the Sphinx often would appear in art and like throughout ancient Greece, specifically like tombs of young men, essentially, and vases, things like that. But while they were pretty common in art, there's actually just one Sphinx in ancient Greece. Like it was like a one-off. It's like the Minotaur. It is the Sphinx.
Yeah.
Do you know where it comes from?
I don't. No.
I think, hold on. I think you actually might do. You just might not realize it. So it's the riddle of the Sphinx. Do you know who solved the riddle of the Sphinx?
Is it Odysseus?
It's not, but that's not an unfair guess. Yeah. I also would have guessed Odysseus, especially with like, daughter
It's like
of Athena.
Odysseus or Theseus are the only two that come to mind, but that's because they have closer ties to Athena than anybody else. So I don't know.
Okay, you probably don't actually. That's totally fair. It's Oedipus.
Yeah, I don't know I only know Oedipus for being sent away at birth, coming back and killing his father while traveling towards the kingdom, which happened to be the king. He becomes the king, fucks his mom, gouges his eyes out. That's the story of Oedipus that I know.
Yes. Do you know how he got to be king?
No.
He solves the riddle of the Sphinx. So, basically, you get Thebes. And all right. So, much like the Manticore, where you have this creature, but it's not actually from Greece. It's from somewhere else. Well, the Sphinx is very much like a Greek myth. In the story, the Sphinx came from some unknown area in Africa and was sent to Greek, specifically to terrorize Thebes as a punishment from the gods. There's some, let's say, uncomfortable xenophobia in that. Where the thing that terrorizes is like, a foreigner.
I mean, yeah, this was 1000 BC. Xenophobia was essentially the norm.
No. You're right.
And if you
I'm just going to call it out because it's important to acknowledge.
I get that. But it's also like, oh, you let somebody else in? Chances are they're at that time, during those times, it was a very high chance that a foreigner was in fact actually there to rape and pillage your area.
Interesting. I think we talked about this in the Odessey episode where simultaneously there's this like level of xenophobia. At the same time, this like level of like, oh, you must show hospitality to guests and foreigners, but
it's hospitality to people of your nation and like area of that, but to like somebody else coming from outside that. Again, like the Greek and Persian War was also like a pretty nasty thing that probably
as all wars are.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Basically, there are definitely some excellent writings and scholarly articles examining this element of the Sphinx. We will not be getting in that today. As you may have already guessed, we really want to talk about the riddles. So, acknowledging that, we're going to move forward. So, as with all myths, there are like different versions as to like who sent the Sphinx. And like sometimes it's Hera, who is angry about the abduction of a prince named Chrysippus, who was the son of Pelops.
Okay.
And he was kidnapped by the king of Thebes. And we can't unpack all... Not Theseus. Different guy.
No, Theseus was the...
King of Athens.
King of Athens,
yeah,
that's right.
No.
King of Thebes was some other asshole.
Particularly King Laius of Thebes.
I have no idea.
Actually, with the whole thing, pretty sure the timeline, that would make it Oedipus's father. So Hera's not pleased about that. I'm not clear as to why Hera cares about this guy in particular, but I can't dive into that.
It's the closest thing that she can get to an affair. Is caring for a man, but not actually.
Maybe. It seems like he was like very young when this happened.
Yeah, maybe.
So big yikes all the way around.
Yeah.
And then other times it's Ares who wants to punish Thebes because the founder of Thebes, Cadmus, killed the dragon of Ares, like one of his like divine beasts, essentially. Yeah. Either way, the Sphinx comes to town, sets herself up in a cave along the road to Thebes, and anyone who passes by has to answer her riddle.
Okay.
And if nobody passes by, she just goes and ravages the land and the town around Thebes. And when someone comes up, they're like, hey, or the Sphinx is like...
Was it really always the same riddle? Or was it just like, we got this writing of the one riddle, and now everyone's like, oh, it's always been the same riddle?
So it is part... So the story of Oedipus, which we know best from a play...
Or is it just that, like, she says the riddle until somebody manages to answer it, and if nobody manages to answer it, then she'll just, like, keep that riddle and then use it again, and nobody's ever fucking answered it until Oedipus.
Probably that one, because when Oedipus answers her riddle, she gets so upset that she throws herself off the cliff and just dies. So that's how he deals with the Sphinx. He just answers the riddle and then she throws herself off the cliffside.
That's a little goofy.
A little goofy, yeah. Not quite as heroic as they usually are. But, you know, like we said in the Labyrinth, the gang doesn't actually defeat the Sphinx. So Oedipus just solved the riddle. So to answer your question, it is likely that there were many different riddles because, like a lot of these Greek myths, it was like done in oral tradition. So you'd have different bards who probably had like their own
pocket riddle.
Pocket's hand. Yeah. Pocket riddle. They had their own pocket riddles that they would use. The one that we have is... Okay, so this is actually the oldest surviving and most well-known version of the Sphinx's riddle. Comes from Apollodorus, who was a scholar from the 2nd century BC. And the exact wording of this, I mean, translated from ancient Greek to modern English, was, what is that which has one voice and yet becomes 4-footed and 2-footed and 3-footed?
Oh, man.
Yeah. It's the same riddle, but that was the wording for it. But there is like another version of the Sphinx's riddle. Same answer, worded differently though.
Yeah.
This one comes from a grammarian named Athenaeus, 2nd century AD. So like 400 years later, we've got another riddle.
But it's the same answer.
Yeah.
Like,
do you want me to read it too?
Yeah, read it.
A thing there is whose voice is one, whose feet are 4 and 2 and 3. So immutable a thing is none that moves in earth or sky or sea. When on most feet this thing doth go, its strength is weakest and its pace most slow.
Man, it's just dumb.
You really? I like that. Maybe because the way it's like been written to translate it has that rhymey. I love it when a riddle rhymes.
That's fair.
It's got fairy tale bullshit, and I love it.
That's fair.
But DJ, you will like this.
Okay.
Sometimes there was a second riddle that the Sphinx would tell.
Why couldn't you tell that one in the book, huh? Huh, Rick?
Because game show is funnier.
Yeah.
Game show is funnier. All right, here is the second riddle. This was a Gassan myth. And so after the first riddle, the Sphinx told Oedipus a second one. There are 2 sisters. One gives birth to another, and she, in turn, gives birth to the first. What are they?
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
No.
I'm good. I definitely will have edited out that long
yeah.
But I want you to listen to it. DJ really considered it. Like 20 seconds. He was really trying to puzzle it out. I'm genuinely impressed. So the answer is day and night.
Okay.
So one thing I was really interested in is the nature of the Sphinx and like telling the riddle. Like the Sphinx is a one-off creature, this one-off monster that tells this riddle. But I was curious about why riddle. And that's such a that has become such a trope in storytelling, not just of a Sphinx, but of any sort of like mythical creature or obstacle in which you must solve the answer me my riddles 3, like that kind of thing. And so for Greeks, so when we see it now, it feels, like I said, it feels so fairy tale.
Yeah.
But for Greeks, there was like a riddle culture in literature, essentially. And it would
come back. Riddles are great.
It would come in and out of fashion, but it was like this kind of part of Greek literature in that like gods would often like answer questions or in riddle, or the oracles were like riddles in their answer. Plato talked about how like telling riddles was like a popular game for Greek children, but he also recognized in his writing that like riddles were important function to like express information literally when it could not be told in an absolute truth, essentially. Yeah. Aristotle considered riddles important enough to include his discussion regarding rhetoric, saying, good riddles do, in general, provide us with satisfactory metaphors. For metaphors imply riddles, and therefore a good riddle can furnish a good metaphor. Which sounds like a riddle in and of itself, but go off, I guess, Aristotle. But so that there's this notion of riddles as just part of, like I said, like it'd be like I don't know if this is a accurate description, but when I was reading about it, for me it felt like poetry. Like poetry is this element of literature. It is part of culture, of communication.
Yeah.
And so I think there was a time when riddle kind of held a, maybe not exact, but a similar space where it was very common. Whereas nowadays, if you're someone that, I like riddles, people probably hate you.
Goofy.
Right?
Like
it's
riddles.
just not, I like riddles too. I'm not good at them, but I love hearing them, right? I love being a part of like riddle. So I thought that was really interesting, where it feels so weirdly specific and unique now for the Sphinx to tell a riddle. But in ancient Greece, it probably was like, yeah, obviously it's going to tell a riddle before it kills you if you can't answer it. This just makes sense.
Yeah. If I were to ever become a teacher, I've already talked to you about a few things that I would do.
Uh-huh.
And keep in mind, listener, if I am to become a teacher, it's 100% a math teacher, right? I don't like anything else.
DJ's great with numbers.
I don't like English. History's fun, but I wasn't good at it, you know? Science is cool, but a little complicated for me. Math was where it's at. I never failed a math class unless the teacher was dog shit, okay? And fuck that teacher. But if I were to ever be a teacher, I would always have one just at the very end. At the very end, it's like for extra credit for like 5%, maybe 7% or something like that. Not a whole letter grade, but enough to bump it almost a whole letter grade, you know?
Answer the riddle.
Answer a riddle, and it's going to be different for every fucking student.
Oh.
Or at least like there's going to be 4 or 5 different ones so that people next to each other can't cheat on the riddle, right?
Yeah.
Because where's the fun in that?
I mean, theoretically, they probably shouldn't be cheating in the class.
No, they wouldn't. But here's the thing about math. Who cares if you cheat on math? Like, it's plugging in numbers to a formula. I never understood. It's like, oh, I have a calculator, and if you know the formula, then you're gonna solve it, right? You know what numbers to pick up. So cheating on math is almost nothing, but like, it's a riddle. Come on, just use your fucking brain.
Yeah,
just think.
And that's really what the idea of riddle is. I think it's today we have the idea of we come with the notion of riddle as associated with practical joke, comedy, knock jokes and riddles. And that has slid it from being like what I think it once was, this like demonstration of intelligence, not just in the ability to solve the riddle, but in the ability to craft and tell a good riddle. Because I think if you have a riddle where the answer literally doesn't make sense, then you had a bad riddle.
Yep.
Here's what's wild. I had so much about Oedipus, honestly, and then
Why?
Well, because it comes from the Oedipus myth.
Here's the thing, I get that, but we're not talking about Oedipus. We're talking about the Sphinx.
Well, yes. I know. I'm looking at, like, I did so much interesting research about it. I did want to mention, like, one side note where the biggest thing about Oedipus, the most well-known version of the story we have comes from the play.
Mm-hmm.
But the play actually opens with Oedipus already being married to the Queen Jocasta. And so all of this other stuff has already happened.
Yeah.
So it's so fascinating. Like, here's the Sphinx thing. So, like, that exists in the oral storytellings of the myth. The play was not the origin of the Oedipus story. It was just, like, essentially, well, here's another movie about King Arthur.
Yeah. Rough.
Ovid the Hack does include Oedipus in his work Metamorphoses, mentioning that he's the one that defeats the Sphinx. And that's it. That's the end of what Ovid says about Oedipus. So, do you want? All right, DJ, we've got Sphinx.
Yeah.
Feels like should mention the Egyptian Sphinx just a little bit.
We did though.
I guess we did.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. What's more there to say? Like, we could talk about the conspiracy about the Sphinx, right? That's like, oh, it wasn't originally this large lion bodied with head of man. Mm-hmm. If you look at the head of the Sphinx. It's much smaller in proportion to like anything else of the body. Mm-hmm. It looks like the head was in fact carved out of the head of a lion, right? So it could be there. What was it used for? Like a tomb of a king? Did somebody get buried inside that Sphinx? Is that Sphinx solid rock? Like,
actually, usually Sphinxes are carved from a single piece of rock.
Okay,
like that's actually where the word Sphinx is theoretically supposed to come from. Like it means like living.
Yeah, I don't know what the
rock.
Egyptians used Sphinx for. Or that Sphinx.
They typically use Sphinxes to represent like wisdom, but also like to guard temple entrances. So you'd see a lot of Sphinx art. Sculpture are on the pathway into like temples and stuff because they were far more benevolent than the Greek Sphinx, less chaotic, more just guardians. Yeah, which the Greek Sphinx shares.
Technically was a guardian, but it wasn't in a bad guardian way.
Yeah, like it's like not really a guardian because it's not like protecting something. It's just fucking with people.
Yeah, it's guarding.
It's a bandit on the highway.
It's Like, what else is there? I guess
that's really it. Most of the language thing. Okay. So there is an idea that the Greeks probably did get the idea of the Sphinx from the Egyptians because the Egyptian Sphinx straight up predates it. That's it. That's all I got for you.
Yeah.
I just wanted to mention it because so often when you see Riddle Sphinxes, they look like Egyptian Sphinxes and not Greek Sphinxes. So I wanted to talk about that as we get into Sphinx and pop culture because it is relevant to like the blending of... The riddle thing is exclusively Greek.
Yes.
The monster thing is exclusively Greek. But the image of the Sphinx is usually more Egyptian.
Yeah, it's... What is it? The biggest one when I think Sphinx and Egyptian also is the... I think it was only on the GameCube. It might have been on the PS2.
No.
But Sphinx, the Curse of the Mummy.
We are not going to talk about it. That is 100% Egyptian. We are talking about
fantastic
Greek.
Game.
I also thought about Sphinx and the Mummy.
I highly recommend it. We're talking about Sphinx.
Though. No, we're talking about the Greek Sphinx.
We're talking about Sphinx.
No, I have curated...
It's a fantastic game. I highly recommend that you guys go play it. If you can't find a GameCube and a copy of the game, emulation is always okay. It's okay in my book. It gets the DJ stamp of approval.
Listen, I love it when you push past things because it's like you don't think I can just edit it out later.
Don't edit it out. It's fun. Come on.
Know. Our listeners, only our listeners know whether or not I left it in there as a gift for you or whether I scooped it out.
I think it's funny when I push past things and just keep going.
Yes, I know. You find yourself so amusing.
I do, in fact.
Okay, so now any other... It feels like now we move to Sphinx and pop culture.
Yeah, right.
And I do have... DJ will talk about Assassin's Creed Odyssey. We've done that.
But it was that. Like, literally what I said earlier is exactly what it's literally all it was, right? For getting the key parts, you encounter Medusa, the Minotaur, the Sphinx, and I think like one other Greek monster I don't quite remember. Mm-hmm. But every time you defeat one, you get a piece of it. The key to get the Caduceus staff.
Do you remember what the riddles are?
No. Mm-hmm. Let me see. Let me see if I can pull it up. Let me open this because I have a page of riddles that I'm gonna.
Oh no! Wait, what?
We're doing riddles, aren't we?
I mean, I'm not.
I thought we were doing riddles here. I thought I had asked you like 2 months ago when we do the Sphinx, we should just ask each other riddles. But
I forgot.
Ridiculous.
I have no.
Are we doing it?
Like,
well, we got to segue into it.
All right, so okay, because I have other Sphinxes that do riddles in pop culture.
Cool, you can do that, and in between your Sphinxes, I'll ask you a riddle. Okay.
Okay.
You got to answer my riddles. 7.
Your riddle 7. Okay, but I don't have to answer them correctly. I just have to answer them.
I mean, I would appreciate it if you answered them correctly.
Can I just guess?
If you don't answer them correctly, Darren, I'm docking something. I'll figure it out.
Okay, no.
You'll learn. I don't know what it is yet either. Okay, that's a riddle to me.
No.
And you'll figure it out later.
I refuse to enter into this contest without knowing all of the things.
No, yeah. No, I mean, you don't have to answer them correctly.
I will
obviously,
try. I will
try to answer them correctly, but obviously don't, whatever.
Okay. All right. Do you want to start with one, or do you want me to? Because I only have a handful of examples that I had like personal experience with.
Okay, then I will start with a riddle, and then, so that way you have to deal with like less.
Okay.
I'll do the first one from Assassin's Creed Odyssey.
Okay.
At night they come without being fetched, and by the day they are lost without being stolen.
Stars.
Yep.
Hey, I did it! That makes me so happy. Okay. So in Yu-Gi-Oh! The card game, there is the Ordeal of a Traveler, which forces your opponent's monsters to win a guessing game if they want to attack you. And I don't know what that means. And I don't know how that works.
Does that mean like I gotta assume that's you essentially toss a coin and the enemy has to answer heads or tails or something like that.
Maybe. Hold on. I have the link to this specific card.
Yeah, read the description of the actual card. Like, so like face down, then I shuffle cards around like the 3-card shuffle that people always do in gambling and get tricked because people are really good at sleight of hand. There's
an video in the way of the picture of the card. I'm waiting for it to go away. Show me the card. Okay, here it is. So, Ordeal of the Traveler, it's a trap card. It does show just straight up the Egyptian Sphinx of Giza, but like really cool. Like if you imagine what it would have looked like at the height of its power, kind of Egyptian Sphinx, very cool.
When an opponent's monster declares an attack, your opponent chooses one random card in your hand, and if they call it wrong, return the attacking monster to the hand.
So so basically they're going to just guess what card is in your hand.
They have to guess whether it's a monster, a spell, or a trap.
Okay, so
it's not like guessing, because I'm like, that's thousands of options.
So basically you would probably pull one card out of your hand and then they would guess what of the 3 types it is.
Yeah.
That's like the games in Animal Crossing that if there's a camper on the island, you'll sometimes have to guess whether it's like what color the card is or what suit the card is.
Yeah.
Whether or not they'll agree to move in. I hate it so much. It makes me so mad. But yeah, I thought that was cool because it just straight up like, I thought that was cool in like a mechanic sense.
Goofy,
I'm like, it's very goofy and it's like card games. It's cool. Okay.
For this next riddle, give it a beat to give the listeners a chance to answer. and like think about it themselves.
Listen, listeners, you can pause it.
You can pause, sure, but not
if you're driving. Don't grab your phone if you're driving.
That's exactly my point, right? But it's also like if I'm listening to a podcast and it's like the way you answered that fast.
Because I wanted to show how happy I was that I got it right.
I get it.
This is ridiculous.
Or at the very least, I don't know.
You are pulling some play along at home shit.
Yes, I am, because
prepared.
I love, like, especially with riddles, I loved playing along at home.
Okay, so what it means is earlier when my intent was to edit out all of that silence when you were trying to solve the second riddle.
You can edit it down to like 5 seconds, or maybe like 3 seconds, right?
Oh, okay.
But don't or you could like throw in our intro music or like whatever into that spot or the Jeopardy song, right?
No, okay, I'm just there will be 3 seconds of each one regardless for the listeners.
Okay.
So I will answer when I realize it, but I can edit in.
Yeah.
Okay.
Edit in or down, right?
Okay.
Okay, this one is from Dungeons and Daddies. I have a spine, but no bones. I have a jacket, but no coat. I have much to tell, but cannot speak. What am I? Yes, Darien.
It's a book.
Yes.
Yay. I got that immediately.
All right.
Okay,
What's the next Sphinx fact?
The Sphinx fact. Okay, so the Sphinx also makes an appearance in Sabrina, the animated series.
Sabrina. Not the live action one.
No, the animated Sabrina got to do some wild stuff because animation. So at one point in time, Sabrina and her friend Chloe encounter the Sphinx. And the Sphinx asks its traditional riddle, what walks on like 4 legs in the morning, 2 legs in the night, right?
Yep.
And so Chloe answers, man. And I'm just going to quote this from the TV Tropes article. Unfortunately, as it turns out, there's a magical 9-legged creature that fits the riddle a bit more literally.
Then that's not a riddle. If it's literal, it's not a fucking riddle.
And I included it because I knew you'd be irate about it.
So
but in my notes, I did know it's less of a riddle and more of a trivia question.
That's so stupid.
But I thought you would like it.
That's so stupid.
All right, what do you got?
This is another one from Dungeons and Daddies, and this one was when you were talking, you can't just make up. This one was made up on the spot within the recording time.
I'm not saying you can't do it. I'm saying it's a skill that not everyone possesses.
I know. I'm just saying you're writing a book and you have plenty of time.
Go on.
It keeps little creatures warm. You can buy it in a package, and if it goes through 2 arms, it goes back to where it started. What am I?
Is it a hug?
It's a pigskin.
What?
It's a pigskin.
A pigskin.
So the skin keeps the pigs warm.
Little creatures.
Some pigs are little.
Have you met a pig?
I have.
Me too.
Yeah, some pigs are little, some pigs are big.
I disagree with that.
Ridiculous.
I think it keeps
you can buy it in a package. Pigs, chicharrones.
Yep.
And if it goes through 2 arms, it goes back to where it started. If you kick a field goal, it goes back. So it's a football. It's a pigskin.
I'm not saying it's wrong. It's the little creatures thing that caught me. But
pigs are small, Darien.
I was never gonna...
Pigs start small. They can get bigger, but most pigs are small.
I think it keeps creatures warm. Would have been better. I'm gonna critique it. I don't know.
Ridiculous. You wouldn't have gotten it anyway if I said it keeps creatures warm.
All right, so My Little Pony friendship is magic. There's the episode Daring Done? ? There's an extended flashback sequence with a Sphinx, which is an enormous winged cat-like creature with a vaguely pony-like head. So we're getting a little bit more Greek Sphinx aesthetic, but I don't think the Sphinx has its boobs out, so...
Probably not.
But the Sphinx asks the character a riddle. So I will give you a riddle now, cool. I think. I shine brightest in the dark. I am there but cannot be seen. To have me costs you nothing. To be without me costs you everything.
It's either love or friendship. What?
Close. It's hope.
Okay.
And listen, I'm always a sucker when the answer is hope. That's how it really made the list.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
As small as your... this one's from Odessey. Mm-hmm. As small as your thumb, I'm light in the air. You may hear me before you see me, but trust that I am there. What am I?
As light as your thumb.
As small as your thumb, I'm light in the air.
Light in the air. Hear me before you see me.
But trust I am there. A bumblebee. Yep.
Yeah, sure. It's a bumblebee. Yeah, okay. Let's revisit old podcast favorite, Class of the Titans.
Classic.
Mm-hmm. And there was an episode called Breathtaking Beauty that features a Sphinx as the main antagonist. But she's actually disguised as a human girl called Josephine X.
Okay.
And then it's like there's the letters of the Sphinx, like in
Joseph Sphinx.
Joseph Sphinx, yeah, basically. In her true form, she has the haunches of a lion, the wings of a great bird, and the face of a woman. I'm also guessing she doesn't have her boobs out here either.
I doubt she has her tits out.
So in this one, she's actually trapped an entire town because they can't answer her riddle.
Okay. Does she jump off a cliff once it gets answered?
I don't think so. So she attempts to trap Odie, who you may recall is the descendant of Odysseus.
Yeah.
So shout out to DJ earlier, assuming that the Sphinx was an Odysseus problem. I believe that's a really solid. Anyway, so he's actually able to solve the riddle. It didn't mention what the riddle was, and I actually didn't go find out.
Oh, come on.
Okay, let me go find out. I meant to do an eye for of the Titan.
If it's man again, I'm gonna be mad.
Oh, DJ, you're gonna be so mad.
Is it mad?
It's man again.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, no. Hold up. I got it.
Does Odie originally think it's man because he knows Greek mythology, and then the Sphinx is like, ha, no.
No, the wiki I'm on says
the original one
traditionally
is this.
the Sphinx riddle was this. Her riddle in the Class of the Titans was more precious than gold, but cannot be bought. It can never be sold, but it's been earned if sought. Though it can be broken, it can still be mended. At birth, it can't start, nor by death is it ended.
Say, when it's broken, it can never be mended?
Though it can be broken, it can still be mended.
Okay. And I mean, is it heart? Is this one heart or love?
Well, here's the thing. The answer's not on this wiki.
What the fuck?
I'm sorry. Okay, hold on. I'll find it. Okay, now I'm on the wiki page for the actual episode.
Mm-hmm.
The answer's not here either.
What the fuck, dude? We're gonna have
so
to watch
sorry.
this episode.
Maybe. I'm so sorry.
A little goofy.
I guess in this episode, Neil catfishes Odie, according to the bio. I am so sorry. Okay. No, why is there not? Okay, I found it.
Did you find it? Because I'm looking for the Sphinx scene.
Yep, I found it. It is a fan pop question. So, I'll read it again. Well, listener probably. Should I read it again?
Oh, I mean...
Okay. More precious, now that I have the answer, let's revisit it and you can tell me whether you think it's correct. More precious than gold, that cannot be bought. It can never be sold, but it's earned if sought. Though it can be broken, it can still be mended. At birth, it can't start, nor by death is it ended.
Yeah, love or heart. I don't know.
It's a friend.
I was close again.
You were close. Actually, apparently Neil figures it out by accident.
Love Neil.
So not even Odie. That was a fucking rigmarole to track down.
It's fucking ridiculous.
Okay, all right.
I help a needle do its job. This is from Dungeons and Daddies. I help a needle do its job. When a hurricane rages, I do not. I'm about to tell you the answer. What am I?
The eye?
Yep.
So, that's all the Sphinxes I got. Because I was looking specifically not just for Sphinx, but for Riddle Sphinx.
Yeah.
And get that overlap and not just thing that tells riddle. So it appears a lot. It's pretty cool. And actually, a couple of these did do a pretty solid job of like, oh, it's also the Greek Sphinx. So that's really neat.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it was. I wish. There's some urban fantasy series where there are Sphinxes, but their whole thing is helping solve riddles. And I thought that was delightful.
That's fun. I got two more if you'd like to hear them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. This one's from Dungeons and Daddies.
Uh-huh.
Because, I don't know, it's most recent things when I think of Riddle. You can walk when you have 4 of me, any less don't even try. When you have lots of fun, you're having a me. Now tell me, what am I?
You can walk if you have 4 of me, any less don't even try. You're having fun, you're having... What of me?
You're having a me. When you're having lots of fun, you're having me. Now tell me, what am I?
Is it a ball?
It's a ball.
Okay, what's the leg? I don't understand.
Here's the thing. They do explain in the episode. I don't remember.
Okay, that's fair. All right, moving on.
Yep. Last one from Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because there were 3.
Oh, I have one in my notes. Do you want me to?
Yeah, you go ahead.
I forgot. I actually have in the section where I talk about the ancient Greek riddle culture. There is a riddle from like the 6th century BCE from Syllabolus. There was one father and 12 children. Of these, each has thrice 30 daughters of different appearance. Some are white to look at, the others black in turn. They are immortal, yet they all fade away.
Father has 12 sons. Of these sons, they have thrice 30 daughters.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them are white to look at.
Mm-hmm. And the others black in turn.
That's a lot of daughters.
Mm-hmm.
The fuck is 12 times 90?
90? No.
Well, you say thrice $30.
Sorry. Twice $30.
Okay.
30 daughters. I apologize.
Okay. Well, it's 12 times 60. No, I don't know. Yeah.
It's a year, the months, and the days and nights.
Okay. Nice.
Yeah. Time was a big... Concepts of time was a popular theme in these surviving riddles we have from ancient Greece. All right, what do you got?
Here's the thing about this one. The reason I didn't actually do this one earlier is because I'm like, it's obvious.
You saved the worst for last?
A little bit, yeah, actually.
Right.
What can run but never walk, has a mouth but never talks, has a head but never weeps, has a bed but never sleeps?
I know this one. I can't remember it. Okay,
Really?
give it to me one more time.
What can run but never walk, has a mouth but never talks, has a head but never weeps, has a bed but never sleeps?
It's not a clock.
Nope.
No. I feel bad that you're like, oh, this one's so easy.
Yeah, here's the thing. I mean, yeah, because it's one that I almost like always hear when people also bring up riddles.
Yeah,
right?
and I think that's what is catching me. My brain isn't trying to solve it; it's trying to remember it.
Yeah,
and I'm having a hard time with it. Just tell me.
A river.
It's a river.
Right? Yeah.
Ah!
Anytime I hear a riddle that's got mouth but never talks, I'm like, that's just a fucking river. Come on, it's a mouth of a river. Like, shut up.
Yeah, I got super hung up on the clock thing.
Yeah.
I have a face but can't see, and I have hands but can't hold. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's the same kind of thing. Okay, so that's the thing. Now, do we want to talk about the Lord of the Rings riddle for a minute?
I mean, here's the thing. I don't actually know any of them except for the what's in my pocket because it's kind of stupid.
Let me pull up. So it's probably one of the most famous riddle scenes in pop culture.
Yeah.
Is this scene from Tolkien's The Hobbit. That chapter is specifically called Riddles in the Dark. And it is the scene where Bilbo Baggins encounters Gollum for the first time and basically has ended up in a riddle contest back and forth where if he loses, I think Gollum gets to eat him.
I wouldn't doubt it.
And Bilbo has it is the chapter where Bilbo finds the One Ring. So do you want to hear a couple of the riddles from the chapter?
Yeah, absolutely. Go ahead.
So there are
4.
More than 4.
Are there more than 4? I'm looking at. Oh, there's 5.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9.
This article only has 5.
Yeah, so what's honestly probably eventually I think makes this okay, this has been going on for too long.
Yeah.
So we're not going to do all of them. Okay. I'm looking at them, and some of them I know because they were in the movie or they become pretty common, like a box without hinges, key, or lid, yet golden treasure inside is hid.
I don't know.
Is it egg? So some I was gonna say some of these I think are pretty common. So here's a wild one that definitely doesn't make it into adaptations. No legs lay on one leg. 2 legs sat near 3 legs. 4 legs got some.
2 birds with 1 stone. I don't know.
A fish on a little 1-legged table. Man at the table sitting on a 3-legged stool. The cat gets the bones.
That's
right. So here's the point I'm making. Riddles are hard, even Tolkien. But then we have the end where Bilbo asks, "What have I got in my pockets?"
That's just telling you to guess something. It's what number are they thinking of? It's not a fucking riddle.
Mm-hmm. So in the actual text, Gollum protests that it shouldn't count because it's not a riddle, but he demands that he should get 3 guesses. And so the text, like the text of the book,
Okay,
right?
the text like, yeah, it's not a riddle.
No, acknowledges that like this probably doesn't count, but since Golem tried to guess the answer, then it should pass because they agreed. So he demands 3 guesses, but ultimately makes 4 guesses. Guesses 4 things. So it's not a riddle, but also, this Golem. They've been through rules too,
Golem says it's
he
not
agrees
a
to
riddle.
the terms.
He said it's not a riddle, and so because it's not a riddle, he should get more guesses.
Yes. And so we decided, okay.
Fine.
So it's not a riddle, but they are still playing a game, and so they been through. But then Golem cheated by making 4 guesses.
Yeah.
So I wanted to also shout out in Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring, when the Fellowship finds themselves at the entrance to the Mines of Moria, and they're at the door. That was a gift from the elves, and the door says, "Speak, friend, and enter." And they just spend forever and a goddamn day trying to figure out what does it mean? How do we open the door? And finally, it's like, it's literally instructions. It's not a riddle. You just say "friend" in Elvish. And that drives me crazy because the words are written in Elvish. So if somebody had just read it out loud in Elvish, it would have opened. So that's funny because it's like the party really overthinks it. Like they think it's a riddle, but it's actually just instructions.
Yeah, that's good. All right. I don't got anything else.
I don't either. That's really it for, I guess we talk a little bit about, like, do you have a favorite example of the Sphinx? Or, I mean, we did riddles back and forth, but do you have a favorite, like, riddle or riddle vibe in pop culture, or do you think like these have value still?
I think riddles do still have value because again, they, strength, like it's critical thinking. Just outright 100% it's critical thinking. The more you think of riddles, the probably better you'll become at riddles, and just strengthen that part of your mind.
No, I think you're right. Do you have, I mean, of all the ones we listed, do you like that a favorite, or do you have? Because seriously, I actually had a weirdly hard time thinking of examples of like riddles like that outside of like the Lord of the Rings one. There's also like the whole like, here are like 2 entrances to the door. You can answer us 1 question, but the other always lies.
Would absolutely only ever answer or only ever ask math questions. Hey, what's 2 + 2? If you tell me the truth, I know that's the right door. If you say anything but 4, then that's a fucking lie. Yeah. Like, I'm not gonna, what?
Yeah, I think that trick to that is actually you actually ask one of them, hey, will he tell me yes or will he lie to me? And based on that one's answer, you can determine which one is telling the truth.
That's stupid.
But I'm just
gonna ask math questions, all right?
But I wonder the question like that one is so interesting. If like, would they lie if you asked what color is the sky? Because that's not, it's like trivia.
Yeah.
Or here's like, what's thing, 2
right?
+ 2?
Even the truth could be like red because the sky is red during the evening, right? So then it's like, what's so 2 + 2 is.
But would they? I mean, my thing is like, would the liar still lie? Because it's
if they speak nothing but lies, and they tell me 4, and I go through that, and that's the wrong door. That's horseshit.
That's my point. Like, is it a lie to give the correct answer to a math problem? But that's not like a question.
When I phrase it, hey, what's 2 + 2? And math problems are questions.
They are questions.
They're questions spoken with numbers, right? 2 + 2 equals. The equal sign is the question mark.
Interesting. Okay. Phrased like that, I think you would get I think you'd get the outcome you were looking for.
Yeah,
that way.
because
that makes sense.
I don't know, like, because then it's like they lied that they always tell lies, and that's not fair.
But they lied. I always lie, but that's a lie. But is it a lie? Hold on. Now we're falling into paradox. We can't do this.
Yeah, but like if one is saying one tells truth and one tells lies, and whoever says that is the one telling the truth, then, right? Because it doesn't make any sense, because it's like, well, neither of us tell truth and neither of us tell lies. That would be the lie of that statement. So I understand why that would be, it's a riddle. Oh, what fun. But it never made sense to me, because then it's like, if you're having one person, or they both say one tells truth, one tells lies, then that's already starting off on the wrong foot.
Yeah.
Because when it's like, if you say, one tells truth, and then the other one says one tells lies, And if the one that says one tells lies is lying, then none of them say lies.
Well, with that, I think we're going to head out.
Yeah. It's a dumb riddle and it's a dumb problem. Fuck everybody who uses it.
DJ's not a fan.
Well, it's just goofy.
All right. I think on that fiery note, we will be exiting this episode. Thank you all so much for listening. It's always a good time. DJ, thank you so much for bringing all of the riddles.
Yeah.
That was very fun. Listeners, what is your favorite version of the Sphinx? Or what is your favorite riddle? Also, let us know if you solved any or all of DJ's riddles.
Yeah.
Tell us on Instagram, or if you're one of our supporters on Patreon, you can tell us in the Discord.
Absolutely. And we'd love to hear from you.
Mm-hmm. All right, well, we're going to be back in your ears on Tuesday, February 14th to talk about Hephaestus.
And before we go, we want to give you one more riddle.
I have 2 voices, but no mouth. I speak twice a month to all, but more to my friends. You learn many things, but will always hear, don't be like Zeus.
Don't be like Zeus.
Muses of Mythology is created and hosted by Darien and DJ Smart. It's edited by Darien Smart. The show is produced by Darien and DJ Smart, as well as
Tim O'Connor.
The Crystal Con Man.
Our music is Athens Festival by Martin Hain. And our cover art is by Audrey Miller. You can find her on Instagram at bombshellnutshellart.
Want more Muses of Mythology? Support the show on Patreon. Just $1 gets you exclusive bonus content. Get more at patreon.com/Muses of Mythology.
You can also support the show by leaving a review at lovethepodcast.com/Muses of Mythology. Or tell a friend why you love the show.
Don't forget to check out all of our episodes and episode transcripts at musesofmythology.com.
Thanks for listening.